What up, everybody? Welcome to Trailer Park, the movie review show that focuses on the trailers of the movies. I am your host, Richard Barlow. Today, we're getting away from film, but not really. We're going into video games. We're going to talk about some video game movies. We have the new trailer for Sonic and the Hedgehog 2, and then we're going to be talking, of course, in the new segment, a little bit about filmmaking. And then we are going to be talking about a movie that I actually worked on, debated about whether I should talk about it or not, but let's just do it. We're going to talk about Resident Evil, Welcome to Raccoon City. So, let's start. Gotta go fast. Let's talk about Sonic and the Hedgehog 2.
Quick stretch, little snack, and here we go.
Sonic, I love that you want to help make a difference.
Mind if I drive?
But you're being reckless.
Don't worry, nobody's gonna get hurt.
So this trailer came out not too long ago, and I gotta say, it's a lot better than the first trailer we got for the original Sonic and the Hedgehog movie. Actually, the thing that I'm most worried about after seeing this trailer is how much I'm not worried. You know, if you remember when we got the trailer for the first Sonic and the Hedgehog, Sonic looked ridiculous, but then the creators of the movie listened to the fans and their outrage, changed how Sonic looked, made him look more like the game, and then when the movie came out, it was actually pretty good. And so now what I'm seeing in this trailer is kind of more of the same, but it's just expanding the world. So it really does look pretty good to me, and that has me not worried, which in turn has me worried, because a lot of times if you go in expecting that you won't be disappointed, you kind of get disappointed.
Trust me, there will come a moment when your powers will be needed. But you don't choose that moment. That moment chooses you.
I just got goosebumps. Wait a second, did you steal that from Oprah?
So we have Jim Carrey coming back as Dr. Eggman, looking a little bit more like the video game character, which is exciting. He did a phenomenal job in the first one, so I think if we take what we got in the first one, make him look a little bit more like the actual video game character, it's gonna make it perfect. He has spent some time in the world, presumably where Sonic is from, and now he's come back. It looks like he's found the Chaos Emeralds, so we're gonna have a storyline based around that, which brings us even more into accuracy to the video games, which I think is great, because the first one, you know, other than the first trailer that we got where Sonic didn't look great, the first one did do a great job of kind of staying true to the character. So now if they're doing this one, if they learn from their initial mistakes in that one, which they already did in the film we saw, so now with the second one, I think we're really, when they're expanding the world, they're going to do it justice, and I really do have faith, and hopefully they don't let me down. But it does look like we're kind of getting more into the video game lore, which is really great, because, like I said, the first one was good, but we kind of stuck to the real world, and didn't get a lot of other things from the video games. So now that we are, I think it can be even better.
Papa's got a brand new stash.
We're also getting what we see in this trailer, on top of the Chaos Emeralds and Dr. Eggman's look being closer to the video games. We're also getting Tails and Knuckles. Knuckles is voiced by Idris Elba, which I think is an interesting choice. I think he'll do a great job. But even more interesting than that, we have Tails, who's being voiced by the voice actor who usually does Tails. So I like that. I like that it's going to be the Tails that we know. But then I also find it kind of insulting to the voice actors of Sonic and Knuckles, that they're bringing back Tails, but getting celebrities to do the other voices for those characters. So it's just kind of a bit of a slap in the face to them. But I think Idris Elba is going to do a great job. And then, you know, we have Sonic, who was great in the last one. And so I think bringing these characters is going to be really good. And even, you know, when I was talking about it looks like they're going the route of the video game, it even looks like Knuckles is kind of playing the part he played when we first met him in the game. He was a foe to Sonic. He later, of course, becomes a friend and is a playable character throughout the other games. But we are first introduced to him, and we're kind of going against him in the game that he's introduced in. I want to say, I think it's just Sonic and Knuckles, and then you can put him in the other games. That was really cool back then when they had the game that flipped up and you put the other games in it. Anyway, um, so it looks like we're getting that accuracy as well. And then Tails looks great, and we have Tails and Sonic riding on the wings of Tails' plane, which is like directly from Sonic 2. So there's just so many things that, as a fan of the game, it looks really exciting.
Since I've been gone, I've discovered the source of ultimate power.
That sounds big. It's been on my vision board for years.
So yeah, overall, it just looks like we're getting more of the game, which is exciting because they did it justice in the first one. So to bring in more, hopefully they keep doing that, and we get an even better movie than we had before that expands the world, which it seems like we're doing. What I would like to see, but the trailer didn't show me, I don't think we're gonna go there, but maybe, is I would like to go a little more in to the other world and get out of the real world. You know, Sonic is in the real world. He left, forgive me, I don't know the name of like his world, Green Hill Zone. He left that and he was in the real world, and now we have Tails and Knuckles in the real world as well. Dr. Eggman went to the other world at the end of the first one. Now he's back in the real world as well. So it looks like everyone's coming to the real world. I would like to see us go back to the video game world at some point. Maybe they're saving that for the third one. Maybe we will get a bit in this movie. It's hard to say. We don't see it in the trailer. So there's no reason based on the trailer to believe that we're going to go there in this movie. It's not the end of the world. It's just something I would like to see. I'm not going to be disappointed if we don't go there, as long as the rest of the movie is good, which the trailer seems to be showing. So yes, I am very excited to see Sonic and the Hedgehog 2 when it comes out.
Hope I'm not too late.
I'm sorry, who are you?
Name's Tails.
Okay, this is what we're gonna do. Step 1, light taunting. Step 2, I have no idea. That wasn't too bad. Today's forecast calls for a 100% chance of adventure. Return to sender. Face it, you're never going to get my power.
Do I look like I need your power?
Where are my manners? Sonic, meet Knuckles.
Okay, don't go anywhere. When we come back, we're going to be following up on this first step that I showed you last week of making a film. I'm going to show you step 2 in my creation of The Last First Kiss. We'll be right back. Okay, welcome back, everybody. So last week, we talked about the first step. You need to have a script. But then what comes next? Let's go and talk about step 2 in making a film. All right, welcome back, everybody, to the behind the scenes creative area of making a film. So last week I talked about what is step 1. Well, you need a script, of course. So what happens once you have that script? Well, then you need your production team. And I don't mean your full team yet. I mean you need some producers. You need someone who's going to make this film with you, because you have some decisions to make. Now, you can just do this on your own. I have done some projects, you know, Trailer Park is all done completely on my own, but for this I wanted a few other producers. So I approached people. I sent out scripts to some people in the industry that I know, that I'm friends with, and that we've always considered working together. One was my main creative partner, who we actually have our production company Stage 2 Films together. We are co-founders on that. And then a couple other people that had talked about maybe wanting to work with me. So I sent out the script to see if they were interested. They were interested. So then once you have your production team, so this is kind of step 2 and step 3 together, then you have to kind of come up with a budget. You can't really move forward on anything else, on getting the rest of your team, on getting anything else that you need without a budget. So we had to discuss, what is our budget? For this film, it was very easy. We didn't have one. We wanted to do this spending as little as we could, We didn't have any grants, any kind of funding in any way, so we wanted to do this as cheaply as possible. And then we did talk about any expenses that did occur, I would pay for. This was kind of my project. You know, this was my vision that I wanted to bring forth, so if we did incur any costs, then I would take them on. So knowing that, then we knew how to move forward, because we then need to, okay, well, we need to find a crew of people who are willing to work for free. So friends. And we know we need to find ways to feed our actors. We need to find ways to get actors without paying. And that we'll talk about in the next step of, now that we know what the budget is, well, how do you go about getting all the things you need, especially in a case like this where our budget is $0. So that was step 2, and kind of step 2 and 3 together, because if you actually had a budget, then you really need to break things down more. In our case, it was very simple. It was $0. So we didn't have to develop a whole lot, but we do have to figure out. Next week, we'll talk about how we found ways to do things without spending any money, and things that were inevitable that we had to spend money. How do we go about that? So I hope you enjoyed this. Hope it was informative, and we'll see you here next week. All right, I hope you enjoyed that. Hope it was pretty informative for you. Now, don't go anywhere, because when we come back, we're going to be talking about Resident Evil, Welcome to Raccoon City. Stick around. Okay, welcome back, everybody. So now let's talk about a movie that I didn't know if I should talk about. It's Resident Evil, Welcome to Raccoon City. I did work on the film, so I wasn't sure if it would be right for me to talk about it. But then I thought, you know what, the job I had, it was in the office. It was doing a few different things on the production. So there's nothing that I can say that really I shouldn't say based on what my job was from just watching it. You know, there was lots of things I didn't know, and I was watching this just as a fan of the Resident Evil series. So let's talk about it. Let's talk about Resident Evil, Welcome to Raccoon City.
What are you doing out hitchhiking on a night like this, anyway? Used to live here, you said. Raccoon City. Better you than me.
Watch out!
So this film, a lot of people didn't know, I learned while working on this film and telling people that I was working on it. It is a completely separate, a reboot to the old films that were starring Mila Jovovich, which were not great. They were fun, but they just did not stick to the games at all. This retelling, this reboot of the story is trying to stick more to the games, try to stay faithful to the games with the looks and the storyline and the characters. And you know what? A lot of things they did really well, a lot of things they did not, unfortunately.
Honey, we need to go now.
Lock the gates.
Claire, why are you back here?
This whole town's been poisoned.
So let's just start with the things that they did really well. I really think the look of this movie was great. You know, the sets, the costumes, the just the world that they created within this film. It really did feel like we were seeing the live action version of what we saw in the video games. So in terms of that, I thought they did a great job. I know a lot of people had a problem with some of the casting. I didn't have a problem with any of it. I thought, you know, all the actors did what they could with the roles. Some of them, yeah, they didn't look exactly right to what the characters wanted to, which I'll get into later why I had a problem with that, because really I didn't. I don't care if a character looks a little different than what they do in the game. You know, obviously you're casting people, they're not going to look identical, or, you know, you want a more diverse cast, or, you know, there's reasons why you want to cast people that are slightly different or quite different from what the video game characters look like. So, you know, some people had a problem with that. I didn't. There were other things about the characters that I had problems with that we'll get into. But overall, I just felt like the look and the atmosphere of the world, they did a really good job capturing.
If we don't contain this, threaten the whole world.
Shall we go?
Come on.
So the next thing to talk about, which is a pro and a con of this movie I found, is the story of it. So the pro of it is they really did stick to the video games. It's kind of a mixture of Resident Evil 1 and Resident Evil 2 kind of coming together in one film. And they had elements of both. They had people in the city, they had the mansion, they had the orphanage. They had different things from both games kind of coming together in one movie, which I think works. You know, it would have been hard to have one movie just in the mansion like the first game is. I definitely think it could have been possible, and maybe getting creative with that script maybe would have served them a little better, and then we could have the second movie being the second game. Maybe that would have worked, because I just felt like they putting these two games together and everything that they wanted to get done in this movie, it kind of, there was a bit of a lack of a story to me. You know, we just kind of get thrown right into it, and there's no build up. You know, what I felt like is if you don't play the games, if you haven't played the games, you're not going to know these characters or really know what's going on. You know, there's things when they talk about the T-virus and the different things within the lore of the game that, like, as a fan of the game, I know, but they just talked about it in the movies and they didn't really explain it. So I remember thinking, you know, if someone didn't play the games, they wouldn't know what is going on right now, what they're talking about. And that's something to always remember. Yes, you are making this movie for the fans. They are the ones that you want to make happy. But at the same time, this is a film that you need to make money off of. So you want to have it expand to a wider audience. So you really need to keep that in mind and treat people like they don't know anything about this world. You know, give little Easter eggs and little treats to the people who are fans that maybe non-fans wouldn't understand. But the main story and everything in it, you really need to cater to everybody. And I felt like this movie didn't do it. This was one just for the fans, which, you know, even the fans, I don't know if they would have loved the lack of story within this film.
What were Umbrella doing here?
They were experimenting on him.
This is my life's work. I'm not giving it to anybody.
So the other thing that comes with the lack of story that I was talking about is when I was saying that the casting is a little off from what the characters look like for some of the characters. And so the reason it wouldn't have bothered me is if, yeah, you cast someone else, but they're doing this great thing with the character. They made it their own, so hey, I love it. This is now their character within the film universe, and I'm fine with that. But because of the lack of the story, I didn't find any of these characters really had anything to really do to make it their own. There wasn't enough within scenes, there wasn't enough within the movie to really do anything with the characters. There was no character development, there was really no character arcs. So in that case, if you're not going to give the characters anything to do, or the actors any way to make it their own, then to cast actors that don't look like the game roles, that doesn't work for me. If you're going to make them very generic and you're not going to give them anything to do, then cast as identical as you can, and then we can enjoy that part at least, kind of. But if you're going to cast, if you're going to go kind of outside the lines, outside the box, and cast someone that doesn't look at all like the like the video game character, then you need to give them something to do, and they just didn't in this movie. And I think, again, it just came down to the story kind of trying to do too much all at once, so the movie didn't have time to breathe, didn't have time to develop, and because of that, that's why I have a problem with casting, whereas I normally wouldn't have.
Vickers, this is Cheap Irons. Pick up your damn radio!
So yeah, there are definitely elements kind of aesthetically that I really liked about this film, but there were a lot of missteps I felt. And unfortunately, because the last franchise of films people were kind of getting fed up with because they weren't that good. Now going into this one, and it just not quite hitting the mark, I don't know that we'll get a sequel. I don't know that people are okay with continuing yet again on another franchise that doesn't seem to be doing it. However, I feel like this franchise, if they kind of learn from this one and let themselves develop more of a story for the second one and kind of let it breathe a little more, then it could be, I think, really, really something special. The other thing I think to work on is, I said the tone of the film is right, and that was true, but there's still, like, Resident Evil is survivor horror, where I was finding a lot of lack in the horror department of this movie, a lot of lack in the suspense. But then again, if they gave the film time to breathe, they could develop that suspense and those kind of eerie horror moments. So I think that is just, if they do get a sequel, hopefully they do take the things that they did right in this one and really just work on the story a little more for the second one, and don't make it just cut scenes from the game that we're recreating. You still have to make this a decent film on its own. So hopefully they can do that for the sequel if there is one.
Umbrella is gonna destroy this place.
So is Resident Evil Welcome to Raccoon City a movie worth checking out? Yeah, I'd say so. Especially if you play the games, there will be things that you like in there. There will be things that you probably won't as a fan. If you're not a fan of the games, I don't think this is a movie for you, and that's the unfortunate thing. So if you haven't checked it out already and you're a fan of the games, check out Resident Evil Raccoon City, Welcome to Raccoon City. And if you're not a fan of the games, maybe wait for the sequel, and hopefully they'll make it a little more geared towards everybody. So yeah, that's my thoughts on Resident Evil Welcome to Raccoon City.
I just really want to get out of this town.
Okay, that's all the time I have for today. Thanks for coming by, everybody. I hope you learned something from my little behind the scenes of Last First Kiss on my step 2 of making a film. And if you're a video game fan, hopefully you enjoyed my thoughts on Sonic the Hedgehog 2 and Resident Evil Welcome to Raccoon City. So until next time, everybody, I'll see you in the theaters. Bye. And cut. All right, that's a wrap.